There's a house upon that hill. Yeah, I even like.
This is Tasha Heyman, 39 years old, a makeup artist, a mother, and a woman who had just started a new chapter of her life.
Y'all, I am divorced. I am motherfucking divorced. Y'all don't even know how good this shit feel. Like, I feel free. I'm divorced, bitch. I told y'all, yeah. Big divorce on paper, and I'm happy about it.
On the night of July 4th, 2024, she stepped outside for a moment of fresh air, and she never walked back in. But before we get to that night, you need to know who she was. Latasha Lachey Hymond was born on October 3rd, 1984, and she spent most of her adult life in Fort Worth, Texas, building a beauty business that was completely and entirely hers. She was not a celebrity in the way the internet uses that word. She did not have millions of followers or a big management team or brand deals with major makeup companies. What she had was real skill, a loyal community, and a personality that made people feel good just by being around her. And honestly, for a lot of people, that counts for more than any of the other stuff. Her business was called Slay by Shay, and she poured everything she had into it. More than 1,000 clients across the Fort Worth and Dallas area trusted her with their faces for birthdays, events, and just regular everyday glam. That kind of loyal following did not come from going viral or buying followers. It came from the fact that women left her chair looking and feeling better than when they sat down, and then they went and told their friends and their cousins and their coworkers about her. Her Instagram page showed her work clearly: full glam looks, soft beat downs, before and after transformations, and it showed her personality too. She posted things like, "Got bored and did full glam on myself to remind y'all I'm still here." And that one caption tells you pretty much everything about how Tasha carried herself.
5, 4, 3,
Now, a lot of videos you will find online about this story call Tasha a famous influencer or a celebrity makeup artist. And while that might make for a good title, the actual numbers tell a different story. Her Instagram had around 2,200 followers at the time of her death, which is exactly what a successful local makeup artist in a city the size of Fort Worth typically builds over years of real relationship-based work. It was not what the industry calls influencer territory, but it was earned, it was real, and it supported a business that was growing. The reason the distinction matters is that the real version of Tasha is actually more interesting than the inflated one. She was a self-made woman who built something from nothing in a very competitive market, and she did it through her talent and her character alone. Her fiancé, Tommy Howard, described her to the Star Tribune as the sweetest person on this earth and one of the best makeup artists in the city. He also said that everybody loved her and that she was cheerful with a good spirit. But Howard was not just speaking from love alone, even though he clearly loved her deeply. He had a personal history that gave his words a lot of extra weight. About 4 years before Tasha's death, his previous fiancée had died of cancer, and that loss had left him in a very dark place that he was struggling to climb out of. Tasha is the one who helped him through it. He told the Star Tribune that she actually was my savior. And those 4 words say more about who Tasha was than any number of followers ever could. Her family painted the same picture. Her father, Theodore Terry, spoke at her memorial and compared her to angels, saying she was firm in their business, but they're always spreading love and unity. He said her whole way of moving through life was to spread love within any room she goes into, to breathe tranquility, and to bring people together. Her cousin Tanisha Calhoun told the Star Tribune that she made people feel beautiful and that her legacy will always be love, laughter, and joy. And her cousin, Pastor Felton Jenkins, told WFAA that every time they were in the same space, it was a hug, a kiss, a smile, dance, you name it. We are going to cheer each other up. That is who Tasha was across every relationship in her life, whether it was family, clients, or the man she was planning to marry. One more thing worth knowing before we get into the night of the shooting, Tasha had also been going live on Facebook earlier that evening to share the holiday celebration with her followers. What happened to her that night started long before the first gunshot, and it involved a whole neighborhood, hundreds of people, and a level of chaos that built up slowly over the course of an entire evening before it exploded all at once. The neighborhood where all of this happened is called Stop 6, and it sits on the south side of East Fort Worth near HY 287. The stretch of Castleman Street where Tasha was shot had a long tradition of block party celebrations on the 4th of July, and according to Tommy Howard, who had been going to these parties for years, there had never been any violence at them before. Neighbors knew each other, families came out, people enjoyed the holiday together, and then they went home. That was the tradition. The expectation on July 4th, 2024 was that this year would be exactly the same. It was not. By the time the evening reached its worst point, an estimated 200 to 300 people had taken over multiple blocks of Castleman Street in what police described as an informal street takeover. Nobody had permits, no organization, no security, or real crowd management of any kind. The size of the crowd alone was already more than enough to create problems, but it wasn't just the number of people that made things dangerous. Drivers were doing donuts in the intersection of Castleman and Comanche Streets, spinning their cars at high speed while engines roared and tires burned against the pavement. At the same time, people in the crowd were launching fireworks directly towards the homes of neighbors who lived on that street. Not up into the sky the way fireworks are supposed to go, but straight at people's houses where families were trying to enjoy their evening. Tommy Howard told the Star Tribune that he believed it was specifically the noise from the donuts and the fireworks aimed at homes that caused some of the longtime residents in the area to reach their limit, and that once that frustration hit a certain point, somebody decided to do something about it with a weapon. Tasha was capturing some of this atmosphere on her Facebook live stream for much of the evening, and one of her videos clearly shows a firework exploding just feet away from a police cruiser with its emergency lights already on, which tells you that law enforcement was already aware of what was happening in that area before the shooting started. Tasha and Tommy Howard were not out in the middle of the street with the crowd. They were at his mother's house, which sat right on Castleman Street. So they were present in the area, but not inside the chaos of the party itself. At some point during the night, Tasha went inside to use the bathroom. She had just stepped back outside when the shooting broke out. A 911 call reporting shots fired came in at approximately 11:30 that night from the 3700 block of Castleman Street. Fort Worth Police Department officers responded 3 minutes later at 11:33 and arrived at the intersection of Castleman Street and Hymond Drive, where they found a scene of complete disorder, with people running and scattering in every direction. A neighborhood resident named Bobby Warner described what he saw to Fox 4 News. "When I came back to my house, I heard what I thought was new fireworks. Everybody was running and they were looking back, but I didn't see no lights. It wasn't the fireworks. People got hurt today." He said he saw at least one person who was not moving. That confusion between the sound of gunfire and the sound of a firecracker, because there are already fireworks going off all over the place, is one of the reasons these situations get so deadly so quickly. When a crowd of 200 to 300 people can't tell the difference between a gunshot and a firecracker because there are already fireworks going off all over the place, the response slows down significantly. People don't immediately run, they don't immediately drop. By the time the brain fully understands what's happening, the shooting has already had time to do a lot of damage. Tasha was shot in the chest and in the arm. She was rushed to a nearby hospital, with some reports naming John Peter Smith Hospital, which is the main trauma center in Fort Worth, and she did not survive her injuries. She was pronounced dead in the early morning hours of July 5, 2024, and the Tarrant County Medical Examiner's Office ruled her death a homicide caused by gunshot wounds. She was 39 years old. She was not the only person who lost their life in that shooting. A 19-year-old man named Marcus Martin Jr., who was visiting from San Diego, California, was also shot, struck in the back, and was pronounced dead at Texas Health Harris Methodist Hospital in Fort Worth that same night. 2 other people were also shot, but survived with injuries that were not life-threatening, bringing the total number of gunshot victims from Castleman Street alone to 4 people, 2 of whom did not make it. And Castleman Street was not even the only shooting Fort Worth dealt with that night. Just 7 minutes later, at 11:40, officers responded to a completely separate and unrelated shooting on West Cleburne Road in South Fort Worth, where a fight had broken out and a gunman opened fire on a crowd that included small children.
1 week ago, on the 4th of July, Sharday Bills lost 2 of her 5 daughters, 4-year-old Ivy and 15-month-old Winter.
They was just sweet. They was sweet. That was my noise, right? My house is so quiet now. Without my babies.
The mother just said, can we just please put down these guns? Man, we have to, in our community, get back to a way, man, that we have other ways of resolving conflict when it happens. Man, like that does not have to be the answer every time somebody has a dispute.
These 2 shootings on opposite sides of the city had nothing to do with each other, but they both happened within the same hour on what was supposed to be a night of celebration. By the time the sun came up on July 5th, Fort Worth had recorded 5 homicides from the previous night, and the city's police chief, Neil Noakes, put out a statement that said, "My heart breaks for the families who are waking up after the 4th of July, a day meant for celebration, to grieve the loss of young lives taken from senseless crime. We share in their grief and remain committed to ensuring the safety and well-being of our community." Back on Castleman Street, homicide detectives were already at work, and what the physical evidence showed them from very early on made it clear that this was not a simple one-person situation. When investigators processed the scene, they recovered more than 100 fired casings in live rounds, coming from several different types of guns. That volume of gunfire does not come from a single shooter having a dispute. It comes from several people firing at the same time into a crowd, and detectives stated publicly from the very start that they believed multiple suspects were responsible for what happened on Castleman Street that night. After the shooting, the Fort Worth Police Department's homicide unit got straight to work. They had the physical evidence, more than 100 casings recovered from several different types of guns, and they also had the community. The department made a public appeal through Tarrant County Crime Stoppers at 817-469-8477, letting people know that tips could be submitted completely anonymously. In a case with this many people present and this much physical evidence, detectives were working every angle they had. It took about 2 weeks. On approximately July 18, 2024, Fort Worth police arrested a 21-year-old man named Toderick Drayshawn Rogers in connection with the Castleman Street shooting. He was booked into the Tarrant County Jail around July 20th and charged with murder. Some social media posts and jail records mentioned possible additional charges, like illegal possession of a firearm and tampering with evidence. But the main news sources covering the arrest, including the Star Tribune and the Dallas Morning News, reported only the murder charge officially at that time. Here is the critical thing to understand about where this arrest fits in the larger story. From the very beginning, police had said they believed multiple people were responsible for the shooting on Castleman Street. Rogers' arrest was not the case being closed. It was the case taking its first visible step toward justice, with more suspects potentially still out there. Police also did not release the specific details of what Rogers was accused of doing, meaning they did not publicly say whether the shots he was linked to were the ones that struck Tasha or Marcus Martin Jr. That kind of detail is typically held back during active investigations involving multiple suspects, because releasing it early can compromise the ability to build a stronger case. What the public record makes completely clear, and what everyone who knew Tasha made a point of saying out loud, is that she was nowhere near that world. She was not involved in whatever conflict caused someone to open fire into that crowd. Her cousin, Tanisha Calhoun, told the Star-Telegram directly she had no connection to violence. She was a woman at a holiday party because her fiancé's family lived on that street, and she was standing outside for a moment of fresh air when the gunfire started. That is the whole story of how she ended up in the wrong place. There was no wrong crowd she was running with, no bad decisions that put her there. She was just outside. In the weeks after her death, the Fort Worth community came together to honor Tasha in the way she had always operated in life, with warmth and with people around her. On July 16, 2024, a wake was held at Christ Cathedral Church in Fort Worth, and so many people came that the church could not hold them all, and the crowd spilled outside. After the service, everyone moved outdoors for a balloon release, and pink and purple balloons went up into the sky, some of them carrying the name Shay on them, a tribute to the business she had created and the name she had made for herself in that city. The official statement from Slay by Shay said simply, "It is with a heavy heart that we announce the passing of our beloved owner, Latasha, and operations were closed temporarily." Inside those few words is everything she left behind. A business she created from scratch, clients who depended on her, and a whole community that called her beloved. Her father, Theodore Terry, told the Star-Telegram that he wanted Tasha's death to become something that brought people together rather than push them apart, that he saw it as a chance to build a bridge of unity and friendship amongst people from all walks of life. He also said something that no amount of words can really soften. A parent should never have to bury their child, and he was right. No argument there. What do you think about this sad case? Drop your thoughts in the comments.
Man, my man got a bad bitch in real life, in real motherfucking life. And I ain't never going nowhere. We locked in. You can't compare where you can't compete, stink. Yeah, you know, him, that's me. Bye.
And click on one of the cards to see more videos like this one. See you in the next one.